The American West has always been a breeding ground for tall tales. When early settlers and cowboys stared out into the empty, vast expanses of the frontier, their imaginations naturally filled the void. They gave us stories of Pico's bill lassoing tornadoes and Paul Bunyan carving out the Grand Canyon. But alongside the folklore of larger than life heroes, the West also gave us monsters. Now we're talking, baby. Now it's getting juicy. Buckle up, gang. Cryptids. Creatures that lurk just on the edge of recorded science. Most of these animals are terrifying. They are born out of fear of the dark and our vulnerability of the wild, baby. And then we got the jackalope. As you know, half jackrabbit, half antelope. A creature so absurd that it has become a staple of roadside attractions, drive bars, and souvenir shops across the United States. It's the punchline of a regional joke, a fake taxidermy mashup designed to trick gullible tourists. But what if I told you that the joke actually has roots in biological reality? Would you believe me? Well, listen to this. What if the jackalope isn't just a 20th century hoax, but a misunderstood medical anomaly that has been documented, what? Documented, anyway, cruise past that, by scientists and artists for over 400 years. You're kidding. Today we're unpacking the legend of the jackalope. So strap in, gang. We'll look at the man who invented it, the folklore that sustained it, and the surprising, slightly unsettling science that proves the horned hare actually exists. See, and now we're talking. This is what we're talking about, because I already knew the jackalope existed. I've seen many and I've owned many, okay? So anyhow, let's get back to it. To understand the modern jackalope, we have to go back to 1932, to the small town of Douglas, Wyoming. Meet Douglas and Ralph Herrick. The Herrick brothers were hunters with a passing interest in taxidermy. Like you do, we all have an interest in taxidermy. Just a normal hobby. As the story goes, the brothers returned from a hunting trip and tossed a dead jackrabbit into the floor of their shop. By pure coincidence, the rabbit slid right up against a pair of deer antlers. Legendary. Douglas Herrick reportedly looked at the accidental mashup and said, "Let's mount that." Okay. Yeah, so Douglas Herrick, he gets it, man. He's with it. And so they did. They sold their very first mounted jackalope to a local hotel named the La Bonte for $10. From there, the idea caught fire. The Herrick brothers began mass producing the mounts, carefully grafting deer or antelope horns onto the skulls of jackrabbits. So this is just to tell you, whatever that business idea is that you have, it'll work. Anywho, it was the perfect Great Depression era hustle. It was weird, it was cheap, and it gave people something to talk about. By the 1940s, tens of thousands of these mounts had been shipped out of Wyoming to bars, barbershops, and hunting lodges all over the country. The town of Douglas leaned into it completely. They erected statues. They started issuing jackalope hunting licenses to tourists. That's cold right there. But there was a catch. To get the license, you had to prove your IQ was between 50 and 72, and the license was only valid between the hours of midnight and 2 a.m. on June 31st, a day that, of course, does not exist. All right, so that's how they get you. Real comedians. The Herrick brothers had successfully created a physical cryptid, but a stuffed animal on a wall isn't enough to make a legend. For that, the jackalope needed a story. So let's get into this story, baby. As the taxidermy mounts spread, so did the tall tales. The jackalope was retroactively written into the folklore of American West, adopting traits that were amusing as they were bizarre. According to the local legends, the jackalope was a fiercely aggressive creature, often referred to as the warrior rabbit. It was said that a corner jackalope would use its antlers to gore the legs of unsuspecting hunters. To protect themselves, white cowboys would supposedly wear stovepipes over their shins when walking through the brush. But they weren't just violent, they were talented. The myth claimed that the jackalopes had the ability to mimic the human voice. So it's a skinwalker or wendigo. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. Cowboys sitting around the campfire singing songs would reportedly hear their voice echoed back to them from the darkness by a chorus of unseen jackalopes. And I call bullcrap right there, dude. That was skinwalkers, and we all know that. We all know that. Those poor cowboys had no clue. And if you actually wanted to catch one, brute force wouldn't work. They were too fast. Instead, hunters relied on the creature's one fatal flaw, its profound love for whiskey. It's all of our fatal flaws, am I right? Jackalope just like us. The legend stated that if you left a bowl of whiskey out in the desert, a jackalope would drink it, become heavily intoxicated, and simply stumble into your arms. There was even a market for jackalope milk, which was rumored to be a powerful aphrodisiac and a cure to all medicine. Though, considering the aggressiveness of the creature, milking a wild jackalope was supposedly a task only the bravest or most foolish souls would ever attempt. They'd usually hire me to do it. I'm the only one that can. It's a solid story, though, right? A perfect piece of Americana. The Herrick brothers invented a joke in 1932. The cowboys embellish it, and it becomes a permanent fixture of pop culture. Case closed. Just kidding. Get back over here. Case isn't closed. Because the Herrick brothers weren't the first people to see a rabbit with horns, not by a long shot. Oh no. But let's step out of the 1930s Wyoming and travel back to Europe in the 1500s. Oh my God. The jackalope is universal and immortal. In 1575, a Flemish artist named Joris Hoefnagel, legendary name, painted a detailed illustration of a horned hare. In 1589, a similar creature appeared in a scientific encyclopedia. For centuries across Europe, Asia, and Africa, naturalists documented the existence of the Lepus cornutus, the horned rabbit. Cornutus, I don't know. These ones weren't taxidermy jokes. These were recorded observations by serious naturalists. So, what were they looking at? If a jackalope is a myth, it's not. How could multiple cultures independently record seeing rabbits with horns centuries before these Herrick brothers were even born? The answer is real, but it isn't magic. It's a virus. Ugh. In 1932, the exact same year the Herrick brothers created their first taxidermy jackalope, an American virologist named Richard Shope made a groundbreaking discovery. First of all, I'm going to say crazy coincidence. It's the same year. I'm calling bull. Cover up in the midst. Hunters in the Midwest had been reporting strange, hard black growths on the heads and faces of wild rabbits. They called them hornwarts. Shope investigated and discovered that these growths were caused by a previously unknown virus. Today, we would know it as Shope papillomavirus. Okay. Papillomavirus. Anyway, the virus causes keratosis carcinomas, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, essentially hard, bony tumors to grow on or near the rabbit's head and face. In mild cases, they look like small warts, but in severe cases, these tumors can grow several inches long. They look remarkably, undeniably like horns. Therefore, the jackalope. If you were a hunter in the 1800s or a naturalist in the 1500s, and you saw a rabbit dart through the brush with massive, hard protrusions jutting from its skull, you wouldn't think papillomavirus. I apologize, Gig. Papillomavirus. Anyway, you would think horned hare. The tragic reality of the Shope is that it's ultimately fatal for the rabbit. As you guys can probably tell, I skipped over the P word again. The Shope papillomavirus. Anyway, the horns can grow so large that they interfere with the animal's ability to eat, leading to starvation. But from a scientific standpoint, Richard Shope's discovery of the virus was revolutionary. It was the first time a mammalian virus was proven to cause cancer, a discovery that paved the way for the development of the HPV vaccine used in humans today. So in a strange, twisted way, the jackalope virus actually helped save human lives. When we look at these cryptids, like the Mothman, the Loch Ness Monster, the Yeti, we are usually looking for a gap in human knowledge. We see a shadow in the woods or a ripple in the water, and our brains try to fill in the blank. But the jackalope is unique, man. It sits perfectly at the intersection of the three different things: a very real, very tragic biological anomaly, a tradition of American campfire folklore, and a brilliant piece of Great Depression-era marketing. The Herrick brothers didn't know about the Shope papillomavirus when they nailed those deer antlers to a rabbit skull. They were just trying to make a buck. But in doing so, they accidentally captured a phenomena that had been quietly haunting the natural world for centuries. Honestly, it's genuinely such a crazy coincidence that it was the same exact year that these brothers created the jackalope and then they discovered this virus. I don't know. Something's fishy. They gave a name, a face, and a biological ghost. And maybe that's why the jackalope endures. It's a reminder that sometimes the craziest, most absurd myths actually have a grain of truth. It reminds us that the natural world is bizarre enough all on its own, without us needing to invent any monsters. And dude, next time you find yourself in a dusty roadside diner and you see that familiar horned rabbit staring down at you from the wood paneling, raise a glass of whiskey to him, playa. Just don't try to milk him. But anywho, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the weird side of nature and history, let me know what cryptid or legend we should unpack next in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys are thinking of the drawings, if you enjoy them, if you hate them. If you hate them, don't tell me, okay? Only tell me if you're enjoying them. And if you guys have any ideas what poster we should draw next, I'm thinking conspiracy theories. So we'll draw conspiracy theories and we'll talk about them. And we'll fill up a full poster full. Anywho, hope you guys dig this, and I'll see you next time. Peace.